All right, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Bogey Ball Society. Brian, Matt, how we doing, fellas?
Oh my God. I'm just gonna. We have a ridiculous episode for you guys. And I'm like beaming. We just finished recording. Just wait.
Yeah, so much fun. Great special guest, Hayes. This was great planning. Good work.
You should probably tell them who the guest is.
No, it's a surprise. No, yes.
I didn't want to steal your thunder again.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone who cares about golf knows who Scott Fawcett is and knows what decade golf is. It's a, how would you describe decade golf? It's a course management system, but it's so much more than that. And I won't necessarily give away how it's so much more than that. I think Scott does a great job of that himself, right? But he's certainly an outspoken, colorful guy, and this is a blast of a podcast episode coming up.
Absolutely.
It's Masters Week. We've got this is one of the rare pods we've recorded on a Sunday. It will be released on Tuesday, in time for the Masters. So, I mean, if you don't enjoy this, you probably just don't like the show. I don't know what else to say. Like it's.
In which case, what's your problem?
Yeah, it's on you, man.
Exactly.
That's on you.
But that's a great point, Matt. We got the king of course management the Sunday before the Masters. I mean, that's a big get for the podcast. So, folks, listen in. Enjoy this one.
See you on the other side.
It just means you're charismatic, Scott. That's all that means.
It's really true.
Really just means I don't give a
There you go.
Well, on that note,
We found our opener.
There we go.
yeah, that's a perfect way to start off this episode of the Bogey Ball Society. Welcome, everybody, and welcome Mr. Scott Fawcett from Decade Golf. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Apparently, we just jump right in on this one. I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. First of all, I got to start out by thanking you for being as flexible as you've been. We were supposed to record this last week, and a twister, ran by my house, and kind of a close call, and you were gracious. It got pretty close. The houses, we emerged largely unscathed. One tree kind of had some damage, and I'm now the proud owner of a chainsaw. So, all's well that ends well.
Oh
But
boy.
otherwise,
Greg Norman. Do you know Greg Norman's trying to change? Then he almost cut his hand off doing that.
yeah, no, I know.
That thing kicks back. It is.
What?
Honestly,
that's a project you should not undertake, in my opinion.
fair enough. But I'll tell you, I swear to you, as I'm holding a chainsaw and I'm on a ladder, my thought was, man, this will really screw up my golf game if I just take a misstep here. So, my mind was in the right place.
I bought a chainsaw, and then you added on a ladder.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Yeah, you didn't. Just a chainsaw. I was not concerned. You on a ladder with a chainsaw.
I was shirtless on horseback too.
Hey, I
mean,
was
if you really
going to
wanna
add
the
that.
You might have to start. There's literally, I was just telling my wife a story on the way home from dinner about a person on a horse, shirtless on a horse. I swear to God, I was telling a story that matched that.
Nice.
You spent a lot of time in Russia.
That's unbelievable.
We better get this back on the rails quick.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
going to be a
there we
long
go.
one.
Hayes, I'm the one
Right.
that usually throws us off. Why don't you get us back on track here?
Well, Scott, you mentioned before Decade Implodes. Why don't we start there? I know this isn't your first podcast, but besides dance competition dad and part-time gambler, who are you and what is Decade?
So, I actually should say I watched PLO videos for about 2/3 of my flight, and I actually watched Moneyball for the other
nice.
1/3 of my flight. Once I finally got,
That's
and my
such a good
wife is
choice.
giving me a hard time because like most people are like, oh, I cannot not watch Ocean's 11 or whatever when it comes on. Moneyball is such a great movie, and it is weird how I loved it before, but I really do have an emotional tie to it at this point because I actually, when people do say like you're the Moneyball of golf guy, I do agree with that. So Mark
Mhm.
Brody is the wizard that came up with strokes gained, which is essentially calculating how many strokes it takes to hole out on average from any given starting point on the golf course. So as a concrete example, an 8-foot putt is 50-50 on the PGA Tour. So it's 1.51-ish strokes to hole out on the PGA Tour. Again, apparently someone 3-putts it 1 in 100 times from 8 feet, which I cannot believe is true. But so a guy like Mark Brody, who's, a solid player, he's a 4 handicap. He is designed, the PGA Tour brought him in to create new stats because total putts, fairways hit, there's a lot of stuff that just is literally irrelevant. Fairways hit, without more information. How far do you hit it? What's your penalty rate? Total putts. Like if I hit 18 greens around and you hit 1 green around and we have the same total putts, like there's more information that's needed.
Mhm.
And so as a former playing professional, and more importantly, as a former lunatic playing professional, when I saw the strokes gain data coming out, I've got finance and economics degrees. I'm pretty good with math. I've definitely, now that I've spoken at MIT's sports analytics conference, I'm like, oh, they're good at math. I'm never going to say that again.
Yeah.
Actually, we were talking about this yesterday. What it takes to be successful in something is not being the best at it. It's like being the 90th percentile in several categories. And so I'm like 90th percentile in math, in economics, in finance, and I'm 99.9% in golf. And so I kind of could see how these things could all come together.
Hmm.
So decade then at the end of the day is using the size of shot patterns and then the strokes remaining to hole out from any given starting condition, and then theoretically to optimize scoring. And the reason I thought to do that was I traveled the Hooters Tour in 98, 97 and 8 or 98 and 9 with Chad Campbell and Chris Riley, 2 future Ryder Cuppers. And
Wow.
the whole time I did, I was like, I feel like I'm as good as these guys. I mean, I won it twice on the Hooters Tour, and Chad Campbell literally won half of his starts one season, 8 of 16 starts.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't feel it was. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind looking back at it. He was a top 10 player in the world
Wow.
playing the Hooters Tour.
Wow.
When you win the Hooters Tour money list, you get 100,000 bonus to come back, and 100,000 is still some money today. Back in '99, it was a bunch of money.
How much
And
of
so
that
it's
was in
fun.
wings?
Huh?
How much of that was in wings?
A bunch. No, zero. It was all cash. Actually, what's funny is one of the Hooters Tour events I won was in Natchez, Mississippi, and they literally had a limo and Hooters girls there and saying, "We'll get you to the casino, the Lady Luck Casino." I'm like, "No, I'm getting in that Ford Bronco and I'm driving to Dallas as fast as
Wow.
physically possible."
Yeah.
Well,
Get
that
me
looks like
away.
a great offer. I really need that 15 dimes. So, um, and so when the strokes gain data came out, I looked at it more as, wow, we can actually do something with course management here, because I, like, for sure, all 3 of you and probably 100% of the people listening, every time I finished a round of golf, felt like I should have shot lower.
Sure.
And I
Man. Yep.
always thought I just need to get better. Like, I literally can remember, I could pull up my phone from eating at the Outback last night, texting my 2 best friends I traveled with, a picture of my Alice Springs chicken, a loaf of bread, a big bloke of Miller Lite, and the Florida game from last night, and saying, I miss you guys. Because we used to go to the Outback and just talk about all the stupid stuff we did that
Mhm.
day. And it wasn't until seeing data and realizing scoring average from 100 yards on the PGA Tour from 100 yards in the fairway is 2.8. It's not 2.5.
Wow.
They are 0.2 shots under par. So you're going to accidentally make some birdies from 100 yards in the fairway. It's really about not making bogeys. And I've, like, you
Yeah.
probably asked me one question. I'm going to talk for an hour here, but
Yeah, but
That
that's
works
way
for us.
closer to
Think about-
3 than it is to 2
Yeah,
two and a half, or to 2 even. Like that's
I mean,
Wow.
but more importantly is if you make a bogey, what we got to start doing in golf is thinking in fractions of strokes gained and lost. So if I am 100 yards in the fairway and I make a 3, I'd lost 0.2 against my expectation. Certainly not a good outcome. But if I make a stupid bogey, I lost 1.2.
Yeah.
It's literally 6 times as bad to make a bogey from 100 yards in the fairway than it is to make a par. We all think of man, and I'm getting roasted right now for using the word pedantic wrong, and so I'm probably going to use this wrong too. But like,
You were at MIT. You can say whatever you want.
I literally,
It's exactly right.
I
Yeah.
thought pedantic just meant stupid, and it doesn't. Someone hit me with that comment in a YouTube video recently. They said, literally, I don't think pedantic doesn't mean what Scott thinks it means. But the idea that we think of golf as this binary bogey loses 1, birdie gains 1. We need to think more in bogey might gain. I mean, literally, it's funny. One of the first years I was doing this, there was a Greg Norman course, Eczema, down in the Bahamas, where the Fire Festival is supposed to be.
It's called
So not only
eczema?
It's called eczema.
EXUMA, Exuma,
Eczema. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eczema is the
Like,
the
literally-
red flaky
Right.
dry
Yeah,
patches on your
no,
skin.
eczema, like literally where that Fire Festival scam job was.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
on the same property.
Oh, okay.
And
Amazing.
so Greg Norman built this just awful golf course in the 12th hole. It's like 40 yards from ocean to houses. and the wind was blowing 30 across one day. I literally, again, this is probably 2016. I literally texted the 10 players I had in the field that day. I'm like, I got to tell you, like, I don't know what to tell you to do on this hole other than I would hit 7 iron, 7 iron, sand wedge, make your bogey, move on. I have no idea if that's a good plan or not, but the scoring average is going to be close to 5. It was like 5.6 in the morning round.
Wow.
The number is insane. I was just like, there's just certain times you can see, like, it's a very Scottish idea of par is irrelevant. I'm trying to just play the course.
Mhm.
And so once you start thinking in fractions of strokes gained and lost, so that's essentially what Decade is about, is rather than worrying about what par technically is, we're trying to become oblivious to that and just make optimal decisions all the way around a golf course.
Now, in building Decade, when you talk about the data analytics, I've heard you several times talk about you kind of, is it fair to say you reverse engineered it by analyzing Tiger Woods and 20,000 Tiger shots?
No, that was after the fact. So
Okay. Okay.
I got a hold. I literally, and I'm so lucky that I did this. It's so there's an online poker forum called 2+2, and there's a golf sub forum that if you actually go into it, I am ship dash 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 this.
Okay.
And it's funny because in 2014, I was live blogging from the US Junior that Will's winning, how the match is going. Like, I am literally out there updating the however many thousands of people that are just following along this stupid thread. It's titled from Texas Amateur US Junior Champion.
Wow.
And so I wrote in 2010 a thread on there that was called they first released strokes gained putting in 2010. I wrote a thread that was called Is driver show putt for dough really
Okay.
true?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so lucky that I can timestamp it right there because so many people just tell me that I'm knocking off Brody's work and whatever. I'm like, dude, I was thinking about this stuff way before every shot counts. And again, I love Mark Brody. Make sure that's very clear.
Yep.
But I was thinking about this stuff way before. What was your question again right there exactly?
Well, the soundbite about reverse
So
engineering Tiger Woods shots into
yes,
into
so
Decade.
we're going to talk about poker a lot here. So Chris Como and I met 20 years ago playing an illegal underground poker room. And so Como and I, that's literally who I was in Florida with yesterday. We were filming a video with Como and Rick Shields. And so I did all this work from 2010 through 2013. And then if you go back and look at it, Como started working with Tiger in August of 2014. I caddied for Zalatoris at the Texas Amateur and US Junior the summer of 2014. He gets hired by Tiger. I actually got my first access to ShotLink from Como and Tiger.
Wow.
And so, as you're just a typical idiot analytics guy, once I got access to the full deal, I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. Like in the data, just call it the Excel file. Sure, they tell you where every shot goes, but like, unless you're really good at data analytics, which I'm not, I'm just winging it. I actually went through what you're saying by hand. There's something called in ShotLink called Tracker 2. It tells you where the shots actually finished.
Okay.
I was going through a rough part in my marriage right there. So sitting in my office for 6 hours in the evening felt like a great idea to me. So I just literally sat out there. And then after already creating Decade, I then got access to ShotLink and reverse engineered Tiger's strategy, and it matched Decade perfectly. And so Tiger
that's
somehow, and I will probably give a large 50-50 credit, 50-50-50. Let's go a third to Butch Harmon, Steve Williams, and Tiger for figuring it out simultaneously together. Fluff, he fired at Riviera in 2013. He hired Steve in at that time, and then they started crushing it. Not 2013, sorry, 1999. And that's
Yes.
when Tiger started kind of figuring out his Tiger 5 mistakes.
Mhm.
And I believe he was already thinking, God dang, I feel like I should have shot lower today. I feel like I should have shot lower today. Came up with his main 5 things that made him feel that way. And then that's what I was able to go in with the data and then figure out. I mean, again, I don't understand. I literally don't understand how Tiger did it. He came up with the 5 things that truly matter in golf. And I'm sure obviously we're segueing right now, but it's double bogeys, bogeys on par 5s, 3 putts, Tiger track blown easy saves, which I tell amateurs to track 2 chips, and then bogey with 9 iron or less, which I tell seniors and maybe 10 handicaps, 5 handicaps and higher, bogey inside 130,
Okay.
and then everyone else just bogey inside 150. And after your round, I just want you to go think of those 5 things. And was there anything I could have done differently? we won't spoiler alert it too much. I assume this won't get out to 27 million people, but the round that I played with Rick Shields yesterday, like we can cross our fingers. I went down there yesterday to Rick Shields was down there with Liv in Miami.
Mhm.
He came up to West Palm, and I was going to just caddy for him for 9 holes. And
Nice.
he was 3 under for the 9 holes we played. And the one hole he made a bogey on a par 5 from 70 yards. What he didn't tell me beforehand is that he's got the yips and he was hitting a 56 and not a 60. So the shot I'm trying to tell him to hit, I didn't even think to ask him, are you hitting a 60 here?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and so he hit a shot that there's no way if I'd known what was going on, I would have completely given him something else, and he probably would have shot 4 under, which again, his normal video is titled Breaking 75.
Right, right.
And just by some expectation management, some better targets, some better commitment, was able to navigate around. Again, just watching him play, I'm
Wow.
like, dude, you're pretty damn good. Like, he's actually a really good player, and I actually can't handle YouTube golf. It's just excruciating to me.
I handle
didn't realize-
your share and their share as well. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't
He
realize-
can when he plays well, he's a great golfer. Like he has
he had a,
yeah.
he had a really good drive off the first hole, a really great pitch shot to like 12 feet. And I was like, how's your putting? And he literally just said to me, he's like, I'm the best putter on the planet. I was just like, I'm sure you are. And then he just canned it. But I'm just watching his stroke. I'm like, oh, he can definitely putt. And then he putted his face off for 9 holes. Again, I would think that with just more average putting, he would have been 1.5 under instead of 3, which still would
Okay.
blow his average score away. And then he still could clean up the one bogey. So decade to 20-minute this answer up is about expectation management, which helps you mentally. And then it's about course management, which then helps all of that all tie together. And then I never would have realized how they're all tied together. I was just a lunatic when I was playing professionally in my 20s. And I don't think that I even was aware to the idea that course management is a thing.
Mhm.
When I would make a bogey from 100, I just thought I need to get better. It never crossed my mind that maybe I just needed a better target there. And instead of landing 2 yards left of the green and kicking down 5 yards left of the green, it would have landed in the left fringe.
Right.
And so just shifting these
Interesting.
targets around a couple of yards. I mean, I started to say you can't even put a price tag on it, but actually that's what Decade does. It puts an exact price tag on it.
And so, Scott, if I'm a new Decade user, what's the experience? Am I using the app on the course, or is it something I'm using after my round to prep for the round? How does one go about using the app?
All
the
of that
above.
except for on the course.
Okay, so it's everything
Um,
but on the course.
Yeah, and again, like there's some other apps out there right now that and I can't say the word shot pattern without the word shot pattern coming to everyone's mind. It's a good app. I really like the guy that created it. But there's a bunch of these apps out there right now that are saying like, just hit your shot pattern in the simulator, and then we're going to lay that out over the course. Like that's not how it works.
Mhm.
We're going to inherently hit the ball better off of a flat piece of AstroTurf, hitting the
Right,
same
right.
shot over and over again. So like, it's just not how it works. People don't understand. When I first was doing this in 2013 and 14, like that's when I first got access to Como's TrackMan technically. And so I set, without getting too mathy, the standard deviations of my shot pattern, but I did not do it by just hitting 8 irons on the range.
Mhm.
I actually did it by hand. So I hit some 8 irons on the range, and then I went out to my course on Mondays and I hit them from side hill lies, crosswind, downwind, sidewind, uphill, like just all kinds of different sizes. And then for a year, I tracked my shot pattern on the course relative, like Matthew Fitzpatrick does now, relative to what my target was.
Okay.
And so
Hmm.
here's my shot pattern just in a simulator.
Mhm.
Here's my shot pattern giving some crosswind. Here's my shot pattern giving some size, some side hill and uphill lies. And here's my shot pattern when I'm hitting a shot every 12 minutes. Like it's just not even close. And so again, I really do feel bad saying this because there's enough fish in the sea for all of us to make money. But any app that is saying, we're going to take your shot launch monitor data and we're going to stick it in here and tell you how to play, has no clue what they're talking about. I mean, again, like I can't get more offensive than that, but like,
Well, you didn't swear at him. You could get more offensive.
Yeah, exactly.
fair enough. This is the difference in a +5 or 6, somewhat playing professional, seeing the game the way it really works versus a 5 handicap, instructor at a nice high school. I mean,
Mhm.
there's just so
Yeah.
many, and again, like Lou, he worked for me, Lou Stagner. He does a great job with data analytics, but he makes so many pedantic. There's the word
Ah,
pedantic.
there it
That's
is.
not.
We heard it.
Word of the
He
day.
makes so many silly mistakes in how he analyzes it.
Mhm.
When we were going through our feud with Brad Faxon, he calls me one day and he's like, "You won't believe this, but Brad Faxon left some percentage of putts from 3 to 5 feet short." I'm like, "I don't know what you're doing wrong, but you're doing something wrong." Like, he's never left a putt from that range short, period. He sends me the data. It took me literally 2 seconds to be like, "Oh, those are horseshoes." So ShotLink just tells you it started here, it
Okay.
finished here, lose, "Oh, it's short." No, dude, that horseshoe,
It's
there's
the old
0
180.
chance Brad
Yeah.
Faxon has ever left a putt from inside 5 feet short. And certainly if he's left one, it's because he might have chunked it. He hasn't left multiple short. And
Mhm.
so, again, I say that because I'll tip my hat to Lou. You're way better at data analytics than I am. I'm way better at interpreting it than you are. And that's really at the end of the day, once we've gotten to this point of the race, that's the only thing that matters is what to do with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
So,
actually to tie that
yeah,
up,
yeah.
decade is I subscribe to the theory of we're going to teach a man to fish rather than give him a fish. So you buy Decade, there's 4 hours of tutorial content telling you here's how you look at these situations. Now you go out and play, you start plugging in your data into the app, and then we've written, algorithms, AI, we can sound really smart saying all this stuff, but like just a little bit of Excel spreadsheets, if this, then that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's now saying like, hey, you kind of keep doing this over here, man. Let's try to do this instead. And then send you content to follow up on that. Now, we teach you how to use our driving targets feature, which is where you tell, how long my carry distance is with driver, how wide my shot pattern is on average. Everyone should pretty much use 65 or 70 yards. If it's bigger than that, you need to hit it better. If it's narrower than that, you need to hit more drivers. I mean, it's just or swing harder, like
Sure.
one of the two. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, one of the two. And so then I'm teaching you how to prepare for a golf course, and then theoretically you're playing a more efficient practice round.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
Cool.
All right. So, Decade obviously super numbers based, analytics based. How do you balance that with the feel aspect of somebody going out on course? And is it a learned thing that they then apply to their like the instinct of I feel great over the shot, or I love this number. I've heard you talk about numbers. Some people say like personally I love 100 yards. I have that shot. I've practiced really hard on that shot. 85, not as much. 65, not as much. So
So
where does that balance? How do you teach that aspect of like
I believe when someone says I'm a field player, that's just saying I don't want to
not
do the work.
necessarily a field player? I'm just not necessarily
No,
a
no,
good
I'm just
player.
saying when
So
someone tells me I'm like, dude, I have tour players all the time, so I'm more of a field player. Garrett, I mean, with Good, when we went out for our round that we played, he's like, I'm just more of a field player. I'm like,
Mm.
we still have to pick a target
Mhm.
and you still have to pick a landing number.
Okay.
Like just feeling it is not like that's actually just I do believe that's code for saying, you know what, I just don't want to think that way. And that's fine. Okay, cool. Like, but there's no chance that's optimal. I'm going to give you, like, if you think about it, we need to have an XY coordinate of where we're trying to land it. So I'm trying to land it 168, 5 yards right of the pin. You can feel it then all day long. Like, I don't like, I think that's just kind of air. Like, knock yourself out. But you still, even as a field player, need to have somewhere you're trying to hit it. And I think
sure.
I think that's where people get lost in this whole mix is they just think like I can just dismiss this entire idea of like a field player. Like that's to me, it just literally means nothing other than I don't want to do that work. Um, but then a field player, I can totally see like I am very regimented. My body lines are my start line. My path is going to be barely left of that. I'm going to hit a cut off of those body lines. And so like that's me. Some people be like Bubba. I, I was watching the deal today, the creator classic that
Mhm.
Liv did. And Bubba's
The
standing up
duel,
there
yeah.
on the first hole. The wind is, it looks like about 15 off the left. And Bubba is standing, his feet are 50 yards right. I was almost standing at like a 30-degree wide open angle. And I'm just like, what is he doing? Like, and then he just pipes it. Bubba just, I don't know, I'm just going to make it go that way. Feel yourself that way all day long, but he still knows where he's trying to hit it. And to like finish that point out, Ted Scott and I, obviously Scotty's caddy now. I worked with Ted for 5 years, kind of behind the scenes while he was caddying for Bubba, helping like manage Bubba's expectations and course management, everything like that. And the first time Ted was finally like, all right, Bubba wants to meet you. Okay, cool. It was literally the week before golf shut down for the pandemic at Bay Hill. And we get first of all, Bubba does not hit a ball before he plays golf,
Really?
which is the strangest thing on the planet.
No warm up.
I'm a +5 handicap. I'm a 10 at best if I don't hit balls. Like, I suck so bad. Bubba comes walking out of the Bay Hill locker room, and he's just like, we meet. Like, I've never met the guy. We meet, we talk, and he's just like, all right, you ready? I'm like, well, are you? And he's like, yeah. Like, you don't want to hit any balls or anything? He's like, I never hit balls before practice rounds. He does before rounds.
Oh.
We go to the 10th tee at Bay Hill, which is about a 45-degree dogleg right. And I've already looked at all of his shot link data. I know he puts it up there like 60 yards short of the green. And I know Bubba hits all the crazy shots. So I'm assuming he just hits like a big sweeping hook on this hole. And we walk up there. He's like, all right, nerd, what do I do here? I mean, that's literally what he said to me. He literally said, all right, nerd, what do I do here? And I'm like, I'd rather settle in with you for a few holes. You tell me how you see this hole. And he's like, well, see that house over there? I started about 70 yards right of that, and I hit like a 70-yard cut back to the fairway. And I was like, you don't try to just sweep a draw out there? And he's like, I haven't hit a draw with my driver in at least 10 years.
Really?
And I was like, oh,
Wow.
that makes a lot more make sense. Like, he only cuts his driver. He does all kinds of crazy stuff with his irons, but you can do that by just changing ball position. And he was actually at point of contention with me and Como, because he was always like, well, how do you explain a guy like Bowman? I'm like, I can't. He's an anomaly.
Yeah.
And then once he said that, I'm like, actually, I can. Like, that's exactly what I would expect from someone who hits the ball well. So it's just really about understanding what you are and aren't good at. So Bubba still, though, had an ultimate target, and then he was just going to figure out how to like feel it there.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
And then he proceeded to, there was a guy with a camera at the end of the tee. So that, you got like a tee box of a dog leg right. There was a dude with a camera. And as he's teeing it up, I'm like, if he does what he's saying he's going to do, that's going to be about 8 feet over that dude's head at about 185. And Bubba literally is like, watch this. And I'm like, you're dead cold. Like, this is your first swing of the day. And he roasted it right over his head. And that guy hit the dirt like you've never seen. I'm like, this is my life.
Unreal.
Fantastic.
Well, Scott, Meg kind of spoke to something I want to ask about. We're all, the premise here is we're single-digit handicaps. We're trying to get down to scratch and beyond, But Matt kind of alluded to some of maybe the amateur mistakes that you probably see on a repetitive basis. And I've heard you talk to like laying back off the tee to a comfortable number is not a good idea. Is that fair? And two, are there some enduring myths that amateurs you find are constantly clinging to?
Well, that was what Matt he started to say earlier. He was like, I'm great from 100, but not from 85.
Yeah.
Well, this is where I finally canceled my Twitter account, was because Colt Knost and I were arguing about this conveniently at the Masters 2 years ago now. Colt, God, I mean, Twitter, X, whatever. Colt said on air, I don't understand why all these guys are banging up there short of the green. You can just put it out there at 100 yards all day long. And I'm like, I didn't feel like arguing anymore because I've already got myself in enough trouble on Twitter. But I just commented, apparently Augusta has a rule in place this week that you can just place it out there at 100 yards on number 3 if you want to. It's 24 yards between the bunker and the trees. I did not think Colt would see it as quick as he did.
Yeah.
He retweets that saying, my God, you're sensitive. And I'm like, but it's important to understand you don't get to just place it at 100. So on the PGA Tour, a par 3 of 220 yards, the shot pattern depth-wise is going to be nearly 50 yards deep.
Oh my gosh.
Every single time.
It's so hard to believe, but
it's crazy. It's going to be, the shot pattern is going to be anywhere from, it's not going to be, let's say that the hole's 225. It's not going to be 200 to 250. It's going to be like 190 to 240. And so now let's say that we're on number 3 at Augusta, where it's
Wow.
360 or something like that. If they try to lay up, you don't get to place at 100. So if you're trying to lay up to 100, you're probably going to lay it up to 120 more often, for
Yeah.
sure, as an amateur.
Mhm.
And sometimes you're accidentally gonna have that 85-yard shot. It's not like you get to place it at 100.
Yeah.
That's why you just don't worry about that stuff. And I shouldn't even say that because, again, Rick Shields, who I just shot this video with, he apparently clearly has a 70-yard issue. He should be laying it back either further or banging it up there, especially on this par 5. Like, I just thought, dude, it's a simple shot. Let's put it 70 yards, and it's exactly what he did, and then he bladed it over the green. I'm like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were gonna try to chip a 56 from there, Rick. But just understanding you don't get to just place it because you're gonna lay back. So amateurs, that's the main thing they for sure get wrong is they just think, "I like 100 more than 80. I'm gonna hit it to 100." Good luck. I mean, just literally good luck. So you've got to think of like this sliding scale range of outcomes of 50 yards of depth. I'd rather get you to 60 and 110. We're still going to magically have some 110s. And hopefully by the time you get to 60, it's not quite as yippy.
Yeah.
And honestly, the other thing too is most people think I suck from 60, but I'm great from 100. But their 60-yard proximity is still better than their 100. It just feels worse.
Mhm.
And that's what, like, with longer drivers, I did wrong back in the
Interesting.
98, 9, 2000 season when the first Big Berthas and longer shafts are coming out. I just hit them on a driving range. I'm like, oh my God, I'm hitting these things all over the face. It feels awful. I never took it out on the course and hit 20 shots with it and 20 shots with my driver. I'm like, you know what? The ones that feel terrible are going as far because of more club head speed than my pure other drivers. And you know what? Every once in a while, I catch it on the screws and it goes 30 yards further. And guess what, Scott? If you probably work with this thing for about 2 weeks, you're a decent athlete. I bet it feels a lot better. And it's just amazing how many people just think, I'm just not hitting it very good with that club.
Yeah.
There's this guy on Instagram today, literally is like, "You'll never get my hot 3-wood out of my hand. I hate mini drivers." I'm like, "Have you hit it 20 times, man?" Like, it's if
Yeah.
you're telling me there's any 3-wood on the planet easier to hit than a mini driver, you've lost your mind. They are so much easier. The head is 300 cc's. I don't even know what a normal 3-wood is, but it's a lot easier to hit than a 3-wood. And sure, once you're addressing it on a par 5, like, it's a little intimidating looking because the head's so big relative to the ball. But once you've hit it like 10 times, you're like, well, it looks terrible, but you know what? I hit it pretty good.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
You know, I've been drinking the Decade Kool-Aid for a couple of years. You know that I actually just bought and bagged a mini driver. Do you get into debates about that still on the tee shot? Are there folks that still want to tell you, no, the pros shape tee shots. I need to shape tee shots too? Or do you find that, one stock shot off the tee with driver is the way to go? Do you get much
driver,
pushback?
like, that's just that's a hill I decided to die on years ago because I've always driven it pretty well, and then I just knew from my own game, like, once I switched to stop trying to work it both ways with with the driver specifically, once I stopped trying to do that, like, and I just literally left. I had knee surgery actually 3 months ago today, January, is that 3 months or 4 months? 3 months ago today, January 6th, and I've practiced, like, 8 times, and yesterday when I was hitting balls on the range, it's just every single one of them is just a laser beam, little cut. Once you stop trying to alter the face to path relationship with with the driver specifically, it's just not it's not that hard to drive it well. It's when you like shifting ball position around. If you think about with the driver, so if I'm gonna go from hitting a hammered cut to a hammered draw, I need to move my path 6 or 8 degrees from inside to outside. That's a pretty big shift if I can't move my ball position. And because the driver has 7 degrees of loft, 9 degrees of loft, whatever it is, you can't change your ball position 4 to 6 inches. With an iron, I could move my 7 iron 10 inches back in my stance and still hit it and the ball get in the air. So if I'm a little flary fader with my 7 iron up in my stance, I can move it. I mean, let's be realistic, 6 inches further back in my stance. And if you think about a hula hoop, set on a plane and now put it to where there's 1 foot that's disappeared into the ground. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
If I put the ball further back in my stance, the path is coming more down and from the inside. And the further up I get, now it's coming out and exiting left. The driver, you just can't shift your ball position around. And if that makes no sense to anyone that's listening, go to YouTube, Google modern ball flight laws, hula hoop, and you're going to find a great video on it where they explain this. But like, it's the fact that you can change ball position with 3-wood, mini driver, or any iron that allows you to shape those more. I still don't think it's relevant. People always tell me all the time, like, well, to be truly great at the game, you've got to be able to hit it both directions. I'm not going to put myself in the greatest of, I'm not in Tiger's category, but at the end of the day, I'm a +4 or 5 handicap. Like, that's pretty damn good at golf.
Yeah.
I cannot hit a draw. I can't hit like, I've drank my own Kool-Aid, to bring that back up, Matt. I've drank my own Kool-Aid so much on this, it's ridiculous. I literally can't hit a draw at this point, and I'm like a +4.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I don't think it's necessary. And I think that, okay, so we've got the wind. I cut every shot. We got the wind 15 off the left. You need to hit a draw to flight, hold it. Okay, well, my miss is going to be a double cross. So now with the wind 15 off the left, I've hit a block cut.
Yeah.
That's a bad outcome.
Yeah.
That is in someone's pool 100% of the time.
Scott, I don't disagree with you, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute because
You're going to lose.
I accept that defeat, but here it goes.
Beat him up, Scott.
Brian, you're being shallow and pedantic. So, Scott, we're rolling into Augusta, right? You must every year get hit with an example of somebody saying, hey, look, John Rahm hit a draw on 13, or Scotty hit a draw on 13 and they cut the ball. You know what I mean? So
but
what's
they
the answer
did that
there?
in the tee box. And so when Rahm does that on 13, he is setting himself up to where his miss is a block cut. It's not a smother.
Sure.
And so that's a scenario where blowing it 1,000 miles right, like there's nothing right until you get to a sack and save that's across the street from the driving range. Like,
so when you're in the pines, but you're still in play.
You're still in play. So he's not going to smother that shot. Again, but and Scotty, to be perfectly honest, again, there's a couple of instructors I actually won't name by name, Michael Finney, that I've argued with this about ad nauseum. And they just keep saying this. And I'm like, just go down the list of the best drivers on the PGA Tour, John Rahm included. You know exactly what shape they hit. Again, I'll even give Finney some credit here. Like, I agree. John Rahm did draw his driver on 13. I agree. I actually don't like the hole with the new back tee box. I think that thing needs to be, give me a hanging lie from 180 where anything can go wrong, 200, anything can go wrong there. I do believe there's less variance. I think the definition of a great hole is increased variance while not changing the scoring average. Like, now we got a ton of options. We're bringing everything from like 3 to 6.5 in play. Like, you're really not going to make double on 13 much. But that's what I think is great. But where I've just, again, specifically with Finney, like, Finney, okay, we're done with our feud. I've won this battle. I still just kind of call him out for fun because I like rubbing his boot in it. But on 10, so Scotty was asked 2 years ago, maybe last year, whenever, I think it was 2 years ago, why don't you just step up there and draw it on 10? And what Scotty said was, he's like, my driver is fit for a fade. And so if I try to draw that driver, and I'm making up my own personal numbers, 173 ball speed, 14-degree launch, 2,200 RPM. If I try to draw that club, it's going to be a knuckleball. The spin rate on average is going to drop to like 1,700. It could go anywhere, especially with any wind. And so the driver's the only club in the bag that has been fit for a shape. You don't stand in a simulator doing the 9-box drill while you're getting a driver fit. You're just hitting your shape. And so if you're getting fit like Bryson draws it. I'm agnostic on which shape. I do think that better players who hit it harder tend to fade it. Sasha McKenzie, who's the inventor of the stack, he's the smartest guy in golf. And Marty, his partner from Ping, is the second smartest. Sorry, Marty, maybe you're smarter than him. I know I shouldn't go that. But the center of mass is off the shaft, the harder that club is to draw. A big modern driver is more difficult to draw just by the pure physics. That might be the wrong word also, but like, it's just harder to draw. Bryson's able to do it because he cranks his wrist over as far weak as physically possible, and he's trying to snap hook it. So like, he's an anomaly on how he's drawing it. But so even if I'm fit for a draw with my driver, now if he tries to fade it, it's going to be like a spinny flare. It's not actually going to go that much further than just hammering his 3-wood, especially, and that's the point of a mini driver, is we've got our driver set up for just a hammered flat fade. We've got our mini driver set up for just a hammered flat draw. And at the end of the day, especially at Augusta, if there's any hole you need a 3-wood on, like into the green, you should probably not go for it. 15, like you should probably lay up, man. You don't need to be hitting a 3-wood from 290 at that green.
Yeah.
So you set your bag up. I think that most tour players should carry 16, maybe 17 clubs on a daily basis at their home course and then in practice rounds. And we're either dropping a driver or a 3-wood, depending on, do I need more draws off the tee or more 3-woods into par 5s? And then a flat face driving iron, because you do hit flat face driving iron straighter than a bulge and rolled hybrid.
Sure.
So it would need more hybrids into par 5s on this given week, or more driving irons off the tee. But I fully subscribe to the Hogan theory. This has been attributed, like every quote's attributed to Einstein. But if you can't putt, you can't score. If you can't drive it, you can't play. I believe that's entirely accurate.
Yeah.
And so if I now have set it up to where I just hammer fades with my driver, I hammer tight draws with my mini driver, like there's not much left. I mean, again, I really hate saying it that way, but like on average, there's not a whole lot left. Like I can kind of hit it from 150 on the green. And then if I'm good at lag putting from 20 to 40 feet, I can probably make a bunch of pars. Every once in a while, I'm going to accidentally pull or push it tight. I'm going to accidentally make a 20-footer. I'm going to play the par 5s well. And at the end of the day, I'm going to shoot a round par. And again, that is the definition of how I play golf now.
That's awesome.
You're making me feel much better about my slice off the tee. I'll tell you, because it's my driver's fault. But
Why don't you play it?
no, and actually, I mean, I've worked really hard to get my path more neutral, just in general. But and I've had the best driving weeks of my life, like the last 3 weeks in a row. So many in play. Yeah, it's awesome, and it's so much more fun when you're hitting from fairway or first cut than behind a tree. Like it's genuinely a better experience.
Scott, this is coming from a guy who once gamed a lag shot training aid, by the way.
I absolutely gamed. I put it because I could hit it. I could, without thinking, I could feel the head load and I could swing it through, and I didn't go far, but it was straight. It was awesome.
This is what's interesting. Like Rick Shields, the biggest YouTube golfer there is. Like he has more subscribers than Good and the PGA Tour combined. And we're out there playing yesterday, and he just roasts this beautiful draw off the first tee. I mean, it was amazing. We get up on the third hole, and he's just like, I just feel uneasy that I'm going to smother this shot. I'm like, why? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I should be playing this fade. And again, I'm like, but why? I just feel like the draw, because we've all heard this, you can talk to a fade, you can't talk to a draw. Like, that's literally a 40-year-old idea, because historically the golf ball spun too much. And so, yes, draws went further than fades. It wasn't because like we all literally thought it had topspin. It's incredible how stupid we were back in the 80s and 90s. Like we literally thought like, oh, we're going to top spin this thing out there because it's got draw spin. Like, no, it's just the spin axis is tilted the other way. And because of the face path relationship, it has less spin. So it goes further. Now that we can optimize through golf ball and driver and shaft and everything else fitting, your drive should be 14 degrees, 172 miles an hour, 2200 RPM of spin. It doesn't matter if the spin is tilting left or right. You can fit it for either one of them to be optimal. And that's
awesome.
why historically when guys are like, I just hit this perfect hammer, this flighted fade, they just magically wound up with a great ball and shaft combination before launch monitors. Like that was just, and I would point that camera right at myself. I luckily just every time I broke a driver or whatever, just having to pick up another one that was just optimal for me. And I've over the course of 20 years, I bet you I haven't played. I'm going to be realistic. I haven't played 6 different drivers in 20 years. Once I get one, it's like, if it starts going bad, it's not the driver. It's probably this guy.
Yeah.
And again, historically, draws went further only because of less spin. Now that's just not a problem.
That's cool.
Hit your shape.
Yeah.
Flatten it out.
We're going to have to hide this episode from a few people who have probably played more than 6 drivers in the last year. So
In the last year, yeah.
That might be
That's
us.
why I don't represent any OEM because I'm
That's
like,
right.
"Fuck, you
That's right.
shut up." No, I won't. Because
All right, so I have a question. So you talked earlier about AI, and then you sort of laughed and said it was just Excel if then. As AI gets more and more advanced, and it just obviously continues to do that, how do you see that fitting in with Decade, even more conjoined, or do you feel like Decade's just
don't.
okay?
I don't. I do believe golf is the only sport. Like, so if I was playing basketball last night and I told you that I was at the top of the key and the guard switched on me and I like whatever basketball scenario, you can picture it.
Yes.
But if I told you I was 147 in the middle of one fairway, should I aim at the flag or not? You'd be like, well, I'm going to need some more
I
information.
need more
man.
information. Yeah.
Where was the flag? What was
What was the wind
Like,
doing? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I took my ex-wife to watch me play in a Corn Ferry event up in Toronto every day. And when they gave us the pin sheet on the first tee, she's like, what is that? It's like, well, it tells you where the pin is in the green. And she's like, they move it every day. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, that's tricky. And I'm like,
Yeah.
pretty damn funny actually. But like, yeah, like even the same hole from day to day does not play the same. The firmness of greens, even in the course of a US Open, like when we shut the water off on Tuesday, the course just gets progressively harder. So
Bakes out, yeah.
I don't believe, and again, this is where Silicon Valley will probably prove me wrong at some point, but like I don't believe in my lifetime. It's just harder than that. I mean, again, like my stupid little canned example is number 18 at St. Andrews is 356 yards. The green is 52 yards wide. Telling someone to hit it the middle of the green there, which is like historically course management is, oh, this is a green light situation. Let's aim at the flag. Ooh, this is a tough spot, middle of the green.
That's right.
It's like at it or not. And there's literally almost always an inflection point between at the flag and middle of the green that is the optimal scoring average. That's what Decade is theoretically helping you find. Not theoretically, that's what helps you find. Because so 18 at St. Andrews, 52 yards wide, we should pretty much be aiming at the flag in almost all circumstances there. But now we go to number 10 at Pebble Beach, 500 plus yards long, ocean on the right. That green's only 17 yards wide. If I place you in the middle of the fairway at 200 yards, you should still be almost aiming at the left edge of the green on tour.
Wow.
And so once you realize, like, there's just no soundbite that works. If there's no soundbite that actually works, then AI cannot solve the problem in real time. And again, like, this is where I can get on my little soapbox here of I want people off their phone. I want to teach you how to answer these questions yourself to where you're not having to be like, I'm right here. What's my watch tell me to do? What's this? What's that? Like, just dude, get off. Like in tournament golf, you can't use that stuff anyways.
Sure. That's right.
I mean, so you can't use that. You can't take the time to plug it in and actually not be on the clock. Even if the USGA says like, oh, you can use these apps, like you still won't be able to pull it off in any time and not like be just feeling rushed constantly.
Yeah.
But even still, just beyond that, like I just don't like we're on our phones too much, man. I want to teach you how to think, and then I want you to go out and play golf and have fun, and hopefully put your phone in your bag, not in a little cubby in the cart. Yes, I'm an American. I only use carts. Like, put your phone up and just enjoy 3 holes without looking at your damn phone. So I don't. I at the end of the day, I do not believe because course speed. Did it rain last night? Did it not? Is the wind out of the east? Is it out of the northeast? Oh, well, Addison Airport, 6 miles away says it's northeast.
Hey,
I mean,
Hayes,
maybe.
Before we pivot, we're going to pivot real quick, but I just have a question. So as an amateur who I'm not in control of my shot shape on a consistent basis, not in control of all those things. How do you, presuming that the fundamentals are the same of Decade, right? So the fundamentals are the same. I'm still going to hit driver. It's become more consistent. That's great. It obviously I hit it as the furthest of all my clubs. Thank God. Yeah, so I'm not cranking my 7-iron somehow. And then how do you get past the mental side of like, well, I blew it? Because I feel like that is for me the hardest aspect of having a good round. I shot a 78 last week. I had 3 doubles. That feels like I shouldn't have been able to break 80, and yet I played very well on every other hole except for the doubles. And it was mostly on the front nine. Back nine was actually great. I was even par on the back, but like that front nine was a different person. I was 7 over on the front. It just felt like I can't, and I guess the break helps. Now you start a new 9 and that mental side. But when someone's in it, when they shoot the double, when they duff the chip or they do that, how do you get them? Is there an aspect of decade there where you're just like, you have to leave that behind? You have
Oh, I
like
want
you
to answer
have
this
to.
for you, Scott, but take it away.
So my original seminar, I started off with the approach shot strategy, this, tee shots, putting, and then there's like 45 minutes of mental at the end.
Okay.
And then as I gave it more and more, I started making those points earlier in the slides, and then I would get to them after that. And you're like, oh, we already went over that. And then it's just like it all blends together.
Cool.
Not that Rick Shields, the biggest YouTube star on the planet, needs us on the Bogey Ball Society pumping his YouTube algorithm. But if you go watch the video when it comes out with him, whenever it does, I would assume it's going to be within a week or two, it will answer your question perfectly, because the Tiger 5 mistakes, it's not no bogeys on par 5s. It's not too many bogeys on par 5s. Tiger was trying to make 6 of those Tiger 5 mistakes per round, per event, to win on the PGA Tour. Not to like make a cut. Like he was trying to have 1.5 of those 5 mistakes per round. I'll tell you that, I mean, again, I just finished 8th place at first stage of Champions Tour qualifying, and then I missed getting status on the Champions Tour by 3 shots at final stage. And in the 8 rounds, I had 20 of those.
Wow.
At 2.5 per round.
Wow.
And so Rick is 4 under through 7 holes. Yes, I mean, literally yesterday. And we come up on this par 5, and he lays it up to 70 yards. And to be perfectly honest, he got really lucky that he made a 6, because he bladed the first one long in the bunker, and then he bladed the next 2 out of bounds long. Luckily, the first one was actually just in the bunker. So we're walking off a 6, and he's a little bit dejected. And I'm like, here's the deal, man. You just made 2 Tiger 5 mistakes, a bogey inside 150 and a bogey on a par 5. So we just had 2. I'm telling you that I had 2.5 per round while playing to basically like a +4 golf.
Yeah.
So the key to you, Matt, is when one happens, I talk about meditation and the guy named Sam Harris all the time. And one of Sam's great quotes is he's like, we all treat problems like anomaly. So your car is going to break down in the future.
Oh, that's great. I like that a lot.
That's for sure your car is going to break down in the future. Now, the day that it happens, it totally sucks. And it is kind of an anomaly. But you knew it was going to happen. Every round of golf you play, these 5 things are for sure going to happen. If you ever play one of these rounds without it, like, call me and tell me how low you shot.
Okay.
And so the key for, again, literally a just lunatic like me is when one happened Champions Tour qualifying, like I'd really like to play on the Champions Tour. So I make a triple on a par 5. I swear to God, on the 4th hole of final stage. And I'm like, well, that's suboptimal. There's only 5 cards. I just made a triple from 50 yards in the desert on a par 5, but that's a double or higher, a bogey on a par 5, and a 2 chip. That's 3 mistakes on a hole. I was thinking I would have 2 or 3 today. So,
Okay.
All right. Well, that really sucked. Let's move on. Now, if I have a few more, again, like, well, this just is a bad day. It's not my day. Like, but I actually did. The rest of the day, I didn't have any. I wound up shooting 75 with an 8 on the 4th hole.
Wow.
And so it's really about recognizing these mistakes are not anomalies. They are expected. And this is where some meditation, some whatever else you do to chill out a little bit. Whatever you got to do, some mushrooms, have a cocktail, whatever it takes, man. But recognizing, I knew that was going to happen. Every time I would bogey a par 5 when I was playing professional in my 20s, be like, I can't.
Right.
Was this the ball going in the cup sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe that just happened. Well, you should have. You knew that was going to happen before the day started. Again, we don't want to make a bogey in a par 5 every day. But one of those 5, 3 or 4 of those 5, again, I hate keep on saying like I'm a +4. Like I'm really good at golf, and I'm gonna have 3 or 4 of those every single day. So when the first one happens, cool. Second one happens, cool. Third one, we're not even on 9 yet. All right, dude, are you doing something wrong structurally? Like,
Mhm.
is there anything you could have done? Hey, maybe it's just bad golf. It's just not your day. You're not on tour. You're not Dustin Johnson. Laugh a little bit, but you have to. So back to Rick. He makes this 6 on a par 5, and I could tell he birdied the prior. There's back-to-back par 5s, and he birdied the prior one to get to 4 under. And I could see him getting a little jacked, like, holy, I got another par 5 coming, 9 short. Like, I'm gonna shoot 6 under. I
Mhm.
mean, again, I can see what's going through his head, and I'm just like, all right, dude, you made a bogey. We're back to 3 under. If we had told you on the first tee you're gonna be 3 through 8, would you have taken it? He's like, well, obviously. I'm like, then what's changed?
Yeah.
Right.
You had a Tiger 5 mistake. You had 2 Tiger 5 mistakes. I'm telling you, you're gonna have 4 to 6 around. You're still running ahead of expectation by a mile. And so to really answer your question, Matt, it is again, this is the hard work. It is a meditation routine. It is being able to recognize that thought's not helpful. I used to think that meditation was about being able to just blank out and have 0 thoughts whatsoever. It's not about that. The same crazy stuff is going to come ricocheting into your brain. It's about realizing that's not helpful. There's nothing I can do about it. And so you just set it aside and you move on. And that sounds good luck. You actually can do that. Again, you've just literally never been a bigger lunatic than me. I mean, I've argued with Faxon and Colt and no laying up like you can't even imagine. And this was always one of no laying ups things they used to always give me a hard time about on Twitter. Like, I've talked to so many mini tour guys from back when you were playing that said you're the biggest asshole and hothead. I'm like, I told you I was. Like,
Yeah.
were you talking to me? Because I told you that. Now that I understand the math and the data and expectation management, I'm not. Now, there's been some other stuff I've done with meditation and whatever else that has allowed me to get there. But also, I'm 51. Like, I have improved as a human being since I was 25, thank God. So my point just is whatever level of lunatic you think you are, I was 10x that. I mean, you've never seen someone as dumb as I am on a golf course. I have literally one of my lessons with Como when he was still working a driving range here in Dallas. I broke every single club in my bag, threw them into the street that was adjacent to where he would give me lessons, and walked off and told him if he picks up any of them, I was going to punch him in the face. Como was a great dude. He actually did go pick them all up. But I literally broke every club in my bag during a lesson.
Little Roy
Wow.
McAvoy. Yeah.
Well, and Matt, just to follow up on that, and Scott and I traded texts about it. So I used Decade for 2 years in a row and saw a significant improvement in my scores. And then going into this last season, I just kind of thought to myself, I'm not going to re up it because I know the Decade math now and I have discipline. So why would I keep paying for this? And by the end of that season, my scores had gone up. I was having less fun and I was back to doing dumb things like chasing pins and shaping tee shots and losing my mind. So
Hmm.
I just to Scott's point, Decade is a lot more, in my experience, than just some math on how to pick a target.
Yeah.
It's mental coaching and discipline as much as anything else. And we'll talk about it another time, but I got back on it and I just opened my season with two, mid 70 scores. So
And again, this is where like my reply always is that like I feel like Scrooge McDuck here. Like I'm just trying to hoard as many $20 a month as I can. Like I really do believe you need the constant reinforcement of here's how this works. And again, there's just so many guys. It would probably blow most people's minds how many guys I work with for like the tour players. I don't have a whole lot of stuff to tell you. Like it takes a couple hours on a webinar. We have a couple of reinforcing things after your first few events, going over a few questions. And for the most part, I don't hear from them again. But every once in a while, I have a guy like Robert McIntyre, the European guy from Scotland, has been doing great over the last couple of years. I saw him a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at the Byron Nelson. He's just like, I kind of forgot. Like, I need a refresher here. Literally, we hop on a webinar. We do a quick 45-minute refresher of it. He won the next week on the DP World Tour. I mean, that's an anomaly, obviously, by definition, but it would blow your mind how many times, if it weren't for the PGA Tour's ethics clauses, I actually think I could beat fantasy golf. I know people think they beat fantasy golf, but, like, I actually think I could crush it just by the guys that I can see are really getting invested in attempting to do this stuff. You know, there's a guy right now I talked about recently that was really struggling with his putter. We didn't even get. How can you teach putting online? We just go through the math of how many you should be leaving short. Don't you're being way too aggressive on these first putts, especially from outside 15 feet. Leave a whole bunch short. That guy's now had 5 straight positive strokes gained putting tournaments. He just finished 11th today. That's going to narrow down the field a little bit, 12th maybe, whatever it wound up being. And this guy is just like getting mental with the putter, and it's like, hey, dude, just lag it from outside 15 feet. Just try to tap your next one in. And it's just, once you can start seeing these things for what they really are, never up, never in is just the worst advice physically possible. I mean, literally physically possible. But you forget that until we go over it repeatedly. And that's to your point of decade. You just kind of need the constant reinforcement. I mean, I really do believe, and that's, to be perfectly honest, it's the reason I've built the other features into the app of the free yardage books, the driving targets. Like, I'm trying to give you a feeling like I'm actually getting value other than I'm just an idiot and need to keep being told the same thing. I'm trying to other values. You're like, well, at least I'm getting yardage books out of this.
Well, I'm willing to accept that I'm an idiot, and that's why I need the app. But
That's
either
the
way,
first step.
We
Yeah.
also
You've
will
been
accept
shooting
that he's an idiot.
scary
Yeah.
scores, Hayes. So yeah, I think it's working for you.
I'm coming for you, Brian.
I know.
Hey,
I
Scott,
know.
we've had you for an hour. Can we keep going a little bit? I want to talk Augusta a little bit more. Yep. Are you
Yeah.
game?
I'm good.
Okay. So what immediately comes to mind, I think a lot of folks think of 12 on Sunday. You know, it's hard to decipher sometimes whether you should listen to the broadcasters. I understand that, the wind, hard to pick a club. Is it that hard? Or because what I'm trying to understand is like Spieth in 16 in the water, Molinari on 19, and then I see Tiger come along and just put it in the middle of the green and get his 2 putt and get out of there. What's
Just
happening on
Molinari in
Sunday on
19 either.
12?
It
Is it
was-
just
there were-
people getting too aggressive? Or?
Three guys in 19 went in the water.
What's that, Matt?
In 19, it was there were 3 guys that were ahead of Tiger. Everybody went in the water except for
Everyone
Tiger. It
in the
was
water.
insane. Like,
So Spieth, when he had the 4-shot lead, again, his is just inexplicable because, I mean, again, Cameron McCormick and I, like, when I first created Decade, I wanted to partner with the stats app because I knew people needed to have it, repeatedly. So I knew we needed to have something they're buying constantly. So Cameron understands decade backwards and forwards. You can see the quantum shift in Jordan's strategy from 2014 to 15. But then when he goes walking up there in 2017, so shot patterns for a right-handed player, they're going to tend to, not going to tend, they do tilt long left to short right.
Yep.
Because, and I don't care if you're drawing it or fading it, the left side of your shot pattern, even as a draw, I've squared the face more to path, like by definition, which is hitting a lower hot pull. The right side, even as a draw, I've left it more open. So it's just, even if it's still drawing, it's more open than I intended. And then the fade is just even worse. So the left side of my shot pattern, so me, I fade 100% of my shots. The left side of my shot patterns, if I've got a 7-iron, let's say that no wind, it's just a perfect condition. I'm making up this number. It's an 8-yard fade from 170. The left side of my shot pattern, because all players, good players, bad players, everything, your path is more consistent than your face.
Sure.
So my path is going to be 2 left basically every time. It's just when I happen to square the face more than I intended to, now I just hit just a pull. I'm never going to draw it personally. Or if I happen to leave the face a little too open, now I'm going to hit kind of like a weaker flare than I intended. So like a 15-yard cut instead of a 7-yard cut. So Jordan, that day when he made his 7, he said, I just stood up over it and this 9-iron felt so good that I thought I would just push it over there towards the flag. So he's taking a club and he's trying to push it into the long right portion of his shot pattern, which just literally doesn't exist. Like,
Well, and that's not the target Greller gave him, right? Do I remember right that he basically admitted that it wasn't the target?
Greller was middle to green.
Yeah.
They agreed on middle to green, and Jordan said when I was over it, I just felt so good, I thought I would just push it over there. At
Man.
least when Molinari did it, and again, because Eduardo brought me to Europe. I mean, I went over and did a seminar at Eduardo Molinari's Golf Academy in Italy, and we were talking about it. He's like, well, he took an 8-iron and aimed it right at him. Like, at least he had the right club. Like Jordan's shot was impossible. Molinari, it's still a bad idea, but at least it had a chance. Jordan's just had literally no chance. And that's, again, when you start seeing, especially on the long left to short right shot pattern, and now the pin is just barely long and right because that green sits short left to long right.
Mhm.
And so now I'm going to try to, so that's why lefties can say like, I hope I pull it. Well, if you do pull it, it's probably going to go long, as opposed to a righty saying, I hope I push it, which I think would blow most amateurs' minds how many times a tour player picks a target and then doesn't actually try to hit it there.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I mean, I'm going to aim left at this pin, but I kind of hope I push it. Well, it's probably going to come up short right then.
Huh.
Or vice versa. I'm going to aim right of a left pin, but I kind of hope I pull it. Well, it's probably going to go long left. That's why if the pin's on the front left, you should not change your target on 12 at Augusta, no matter where the pin is, from the dead center of the green. As a right-handed player and as a left-handed player, you can just get away with it more.
Sure.
So to circle back to your question about Augusta, that golf tournament has been won disproportionately by lefties so much it's insane. Bob Charles, Mike Weir, Mickelson,
twice.
Bubba Watson, and that's because 2, 5, 10, 13 tee shots all require right to left. So now you get those guys that like just hammering a cut, like they don't have to drop back to 3-wood. And there's really not, aside from number 18, a hole that you have to draw it on. In 18, you don't have to draw it. You can just drop back some. If you're going to try to move it up and around, yes, I shouldn't say draw, left to right. So that's a hard shot for a guy like Mickelson. But if you go back to his little Frankenwood attempt 20 years ago, whatever, when he first won, he had that super long driver that he was hammering cuts on, and then a shorter, basically mini driver that he was hammering draws with. I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's just, he really had the blueprint back then. And I do believe that if Mickelson would have just stuck with that, he potentially would have won even more Masters. That golf course is so suited for lefties. It's unbelievable.
Mm, mm.
All right, what's
I'll give it to you.
what's the hardest hole at Augusta? Not necessarily numbers wise, but like what hole would you not want to play if there was money in the line?
11.
11's pretty hard.
Because I feel like every time I watch it, my answer changes. I'm always like, no, that's that one.
That's
I
a really
wouldn't want
interesting question, because it'd be like, what's the money line? Like 15 is brutal. I mean, they're hitting any long iron into that hole. You do not have a whole lot of
Sure. Yeah.
space to hit it in. I mean,
the landing areas are so tiny.
it's
I mean,
so tiny.
every year
if
when they do the drop the ball and watch how far it rolls.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, oh my god! Like
it's insane. 11. It's interesting that I actually don't know that answer. What is the hardest hole relative to par?
I don't actually know scoring.
I can't imagine it's not 11, because you can just screw that hole up so much. But that's a hole where, like, let's just make up a number. Oh gosh, dang it! We're gonna do this real time. We'll see if I can pull this off quickly. Augusta National 2025. Luckily for me, I just was finishing this up for everyone. Number 11 played with a 4.39 scoring average last year. Like, I got to figure that's the best. The worst.
Just told Augusta is number 11 and number 12. 16th hole can be the toughest or easiest depending on pin
12 was
placement.
3.19 last year. What's 18? 18 is 4.37. I mean, that's a hard hole. I mean, again, considering it doesn't have penalty strokes,
Yeah, that
it's
is a
just
sneaky
so
hard
narrow
hole.
through that chute. I mean, it's so narrow from back there. I mean, literally, my joke little thing here of my thing is just like, just get it through the chute. Like, what you do from out of position is far more important than what you do from in position.
Sure.
I mean, that is the lather, rinse, repeat of course management. Is when you get out of position, you have to give up. Let's just get back in play. And that's one of the cliches that is correct. Get it back in play in one. Like,
Yeah.
sounds obvious, but it takes an enormous amount of discipline to be like, bad spot here.
Oh my god, it's so
Bad
hard.
spot, man.
But I have a window.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, I
big.
mean, 40 yards at 300. You should keep it out of the tree 70, 75% of the time. I'm going to say it again because it's all that matters. What you do from out of position is far more important than what you do from in position. Like if you hit a good tee shot on 18, you're probably making 4.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make double when you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you think, I mean, like literally almost by definition, if I just said you should keep it out of the trees 70 to 75% of the time, if we can average par from all of those and then just make bogey when I'm not, I'll beat 4.37.
Sure.
I mean, like
Yeah.
literally by definition.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
Okay.
don't make double, man.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, we don't want to keep you much longer. You've been really generous with your time, but I want to. Can I put you on the spot? Can we go around the horn and get a Masters pick?
I'm the most boring man. Like if you knew how many people, I was just literally at dinner and somebody came over and asked me, what do you think the Masters? I'm like, I'm so boring. I start at the world number 1 and I go,
Well, you
and
just
when-
spoke to
when
your
they say-
chops at
Who's
fantasy
number 2?
golf, so I mean, let's hear it.
when they say get creative, and I'm like, then I would pick a lefty not named Brian Harmon, even though he just won today.
Yeah.
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Was he
the
long
weather
enough?
looks pretty good this week, so Brian Harmon's not going to get to 12 under at Augusta. That's the fallacy. Again, this is where the nuance of golf versus all other sports, we will hear it for sure this week. Zach Johnson won the Masters without going to a single par 5. An important footnote to that is nobody went for a single par 5 that week. Zach didn't win because he didn't go for a par 5. Zach won because nobody else went for the par 5.
Is that really
It
true?
was,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
like
it was
30 degrees the whole
38
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard
Zach,
that stat so many times. That's never come with that footnote. That's
what
incredible.
do you think Zach's winning? DJ, when DJ won the Masters, he was 20 under.
Yeah, it was in September or
What do you
October,
think
whatever
Zach
that was.
when he won?
7.
1 over.
Oh my gosh.
He won the Masters at 1 over. Kind of an important footnote.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
I mean, it's just so it's so dumb. I can't get
Context.
myself in more trouble with announcers than I do. It's just so Neanderthal to say Zach Johnson won without going for a par 5. Like, yeah, he didn't win at 20 under. He's
Right.
not getting to 20 at all,
Wow.
ever.
Okay.
Love you, Zach.
Yeah.
You're not getting to 20, man. You need some really bad weather. Brian Harmon, you won the British Open. That's your speed.
Yeah.
Augusta and good weather, not your speed. So, and but honestly, just to finish it, because I actually can't say much because of PGA Tour's ethics clauses that we have to sign.
Sure.
But the one other thing that I think is really funny, how people are always astounded that Zalatoris has done well there. Zalatoris has some of the best speed control on the PGA Tour. All he does on his putting is try to make the second putt as short as possible. So Zach, that first year out, he finishes second at the Masters. He's been crushing everything for a year and a half through the COVID year and everything. Now he's going into the British Open as one of the favorites, and I love Will like a son. Like, no, the British, every green is dead flat, and they're rolling like 9.5. That's not Will's forte because now line is more important than speed. So you want to get a guy like Max Grazerman, who hits it a bazillion miles, who understands how to draw his 3-wood and/or if he carries a mini driver this week. And the only thing he works on when he's practicing his putting is speed control. He was second last year in strokes gained putting. You want a sleeper? Max Grazerman's your man.
Wow. Cool.
All right, Matt, real quick. Who's your pick?
I mean, given the stat about lefties, it's hard not to like Akshay, but I love Scotty. He's so insanely consistent. I just have a hard time. He loves the course. I don't know. It's really hard to vote.
He loves the course. He understands how to play it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to see anybody else that is playing well, and he's playing well, competing. So
I actually do think that this is going to be potentially a really epic. Someone posted earlier today the 2019 leaderboard when Tiger was on like 12, and it is so good. I think we're setting up right now for a good Rory, Scotty, Brooks,
Bryson.
Yeah. I mean, Bryson draws his driver. That's pretty good out there.
Yeah.
Like he's a unicorn of a right-handed player. He understands speed control. He understands decade. That's his U.S. Open flag. That's his U.S. Amateur shirt. Like he kind of knows what he's doing out there.
Will,
Bryson's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah.
Brian?
I can't remember who I chose last week, but I'm gonna go with Zalatoris just because I do think he plays that course really well, Scott, and I've been a fan of his for a while because he was sponsored by my old company, so I kind of grew up a fan of
Which one's
seeing him
that?
from there. UKG. I used to work for
Okay.
UKG.
There's his U.S. Junior flag.
Yep.
All right. Well,
That's
I'm
awesome.
going sentimental favorite. I'm going Jordan. I know he's not quite in form, but he plays well at that place. He does every year, except for the one year he didn't. But
He finished 12th today. He's not
Yeah.
he's actually playing pretty well this season.
no,
Yeah.
I know,
Which is awesome. Like
maybe not quite the Jordan we all hope he comes back to yet, but
the game is better when he's playing well. That is
Thank you.
just
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
It's so interesting because it's so hard to get young names, you know. Everyone's so mad, like, I don't know any of these names on the leaderboard. I'm like, unfortunately, golf is going to be a sport moving forward where you don't have this 20-year career. I mean, it takes a psychopath to make $150 million and keep grinding at 38. I mean, like, it takes a psychopath, and that's what Tiger is, and that's, to be perfectly honest, kind of what Rory is. I mean, again, Rory's one of the better guys out there, obviously a pretty well-rounded human being, but, like, I can't believe sometimes that he's only 35. I feel like he's 90.
he's
Sure.
been
I mean,
Yeah.
he's been around and doing this so well for so long.
Yeah.
It's really hard to imagine keeping that level up. And again, we're gonna have unicorns from each generation, but for the most part now, you're gonna have guys. I mean, Will's made $40 million since COVID. Like,
Wow.
where's your incentive at some point? I mean, and again, there's only so many people that are like, I'm born to be the best golfer that's ever lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really, really, really hard thing. It's easy to be like, I wish Spieth would keep playing well. I don't know what his Under Armour stock's worth now, but again,
Right.
I'm hard pressed to think Jordan doesn't have $100 million check he can write if he had to scrape it together.
Yeah.
And at
Yeah.
some point, you got your wife and your kids at home, and he's a good dude.
Mhm.
Like, am I going to go out there and chip and putt for 2 hours, or kind of come home and hang out with the wife and the kids? Like, probably going to hang out with the wife and the kids, and I'm going to set the stage for Max Grazerman to come out and do it next. And
Yeah.
golf is going to be more like other sports where you're not going to have these 30-year careers anymore. Like, it's just,
So moral of that
Not gonna
story, you disagree with my Jordan pick. Got it. Okay.
not even that. Again, this is what's actually funny. I really don't follow golf. Like, that would probably blow most people's minds how little I follow golf. I did a deal with Dan Rappaport last week for Scratch, and he was asking me, like, how many players I have in the field. I'm like, I honestly have no idea. I went through, I've worked with 26 guys in the field. I wouldn't have known. I mean, I figured it was probably around there, but like, I literally don't pay attention.
Wow.
Well,
I'd rather do
cool.
podcasts like this. This is more fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you very
Man,
much, Scott.
honestly.
How do folks sign up for Decade? How do they find you? How do they follow you?
Decade.golf. Go check it out. Finally, we're adults and have a website that's not planglesson.com or birdieputter.com. Like, it's funny that it took us almost 10 years, almost a decade to set up decade.golf, but
There
just
you
go
go.
to decade.golf. You'll find it. And again, I really do hate saying this because it is my product, but like, if you're frustrated feeling like you should shoot lower every time you play, it really is the way to go. And I know I come across as arrogant and overbearing on podcasts like this. I'm trying to have some fun with it, be a little self-deprecating, but at the end of the day, we all feel like we should have shot lower every time we play. And my final joke is always, you're either not as good as you think you are, or you made mental and strategic mistakes. Like, it can be nothing else. And it's probably a pretty heavy combination, about 50-50 of both. And so just realizing, like, when I was in my 20s playing professionally, I just thought I had to get better to stop making those mistakes. And it never was, I wasn't even aware of the idea that maybe it's just strategy. And at the end of the day, every single game, sport, everything we play, it is math based. Every decision you make in life is math based in some form or fashion. And golf is leading the way in that. And again, I've literally watched Moneyball on this flight today, and it just cracks me up how good of a movie it is. But when you really look at it, like, how much resistance he got, I'm sure it's, over dramatized for the movie, but like, how much resistance he got from those trainers of like, they just don't know what we know. And it's like, dude, it's data.
Yep.
This is the reality. I get it. I see what you want to see and I see what you're wanting to do here, but that's just not how it works. And once you see that and understand it, A, you'll be less of a psychopath, and B, you'll shoot lower scores. I mean, it's just
Those are my 2 goals in golf.
Right. One of the main criticisms I get is like, doesn't this make it boring? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I kind of like leaving the course shooting. Like, I shot 70. It felt like I could have shot 68. It's this I could have versus I would have or should have. Like, sure, you could have shot lower, but like, should you have? Like, we all acknowledge, like, I missed these 3 8-foot putts. Well, you also made 2 20-footers.
Right.
That's
Right.
actually a wash. That is literally basically a mathematical wash.
Wow.
And so very rarely are you being honest with any score that you're average or better when you think I should have shot lower. It's always I could have, not I should have. And that's getting out of that I should have. Back to Rick Shields on 9T. I should be 4 under. I don't disagree, man. There's a pretty ugly bogey back there. But also, if that first one hadn't caught the lip of the bunker, you'd be over par right now.
Right.
It's pretty
That's right.
convenient that your first one caught the lip of the bunker and the other 2 actually went literally OB and long from 70 yards.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, Scott, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Oh my
Thank you
God.
guys.
Great.
Go do it whenever you want.
All right.
Awesome.
Awesome, Scott. Thanks so much. Everybody, we're out. Brian, you giddy with that one? That was a good pod, huh? What do you think?
That was fantastic. Thanks again, Scott, for coming on. That was like the best. I enjoyed that so much.
And to recap real quick. So he landed on Scotty to win. Matt, you landed on who?
Well, I really
You can't
like
change
his.
it now. Just tell me
No,
what
I
you
said Akshay or
right.
Scotty, because it's really hard to root against the guy who's the 2-time defending champion. Not 2-time defending champion. He's won it twice, right? 2 in 3 years or something like that. Doesn't really matter.
I said
Brian,
Jordan.
where did you go?
Oh, with my heart in Willie Zalatoris.
That's
Yeah.
right, Willie Z.
So nobody said Rory, nobody said Bryson, and those
I-
are 2 fashionable picks this year. So we'll have to
I
see.
mean,
Rory's
I think
playing
Rory's
very
just
well.
gonna be in his own head, though. I don't know.
Matt,
I
I'm
think there's a
gonna
blocker
do you
there.
a favor, Matt. Right now, I'm gonna pick the winner. His name is insert name here. So Matt, you can just come back with the edit.
Hayes,
Insert
how did
name
you
here.
do that? No, it's coming out before though. It's a
No,
problem.
he
that's
wants
right,
you to
yeah.
go back in after and
After.
edit the
Okay,
podcast.
okay.
after
Right.
the fact.
We'll do a special
I don't
edition.
know,
where-
Matt. I just had a hunch that insert name here was in form going
I
into
still
the
can't
tournament.
believe you guessed insert name here. It's incredible that you were able to do that.
Right.
Man,
All right. Well, we're getting off track. Scott Fawcett, if guys, anyone listening to that, how you don't go to Decade and
Golf.
look into the system and learn. There's a trial means to take it in for the first month, and you're crazy not to, because I promise you from my own experience, you will lower your scores and you will have more fun on the course.
yeah, we will definitely be having. I'm just going to say it now. We will be having him back, so that we can talk about how scores lowered, and if they didn't, what we did wrong. Because
Right.
it's definitely going to be on us.
Yes.
Man, that was really fun.
All right, folks, we'll see you back here next time.
See you guys.
Way out.